So I've been recording videos on YouTube for quite a while, and I usually go with equipment that's actually on the cheap side. I'm frugal that way. I don't have an unlimited budget. And today we're going to be taking a look at this wireless mic system from KIMAFUN, and we're going to see whether or not it actually entices me to move away from my tried and true wired lapel mic. So a wired microphone has some advantages over a wireless system. Namely, you can get them relatively inexpensively. This unit that I've been using for years now is probably under 40 bucks, and it's been doing a wonderful job. The only disadvantage obviously is the fact that it's wired. You're dealing with a good, I'm gonna say 25 feet of wire or so, and honestly, it gets tangled, it gets in the way. Sometimes you're tripping over it, and it could also get damaged when you're walking on it or rolling over it with your chair or whatnot. So there are some disadvantages to using a wired system. But other than that, wired systems are pretty reliable because you don't get interference, you know it's connected properly, you're not going to have any issues. I've been intrigued by these inexpensive wireless systems that have been popping up on the market, and I decided to take a look at this KIMAFUN system here to see whether or not I'd be happy with its performance, and maybe it could lure me away from using my wired system here. Now these are made in China, and we're going to be opening it up to see exactly what you're getting in the package, and I'm going to be showing you what you can expect from these things. This system is a 2.4 gigahertz wireless system, and you get a nice little carrying case with it with the KIMAFUN name on it. It's a semi-rigid case. It looks like to be the size of a pencil case, a little bit thick, but it's very convenient because you can protect the units, throw them into your backpack or whatever method you're using to transport them, and make sure they don't get crushed or damaged. Inside, what do we have here? At first glance, it looks like we have the transmitter and receiver here. Let me take those out. And they're actually cradled by a really nice rigid foam insert, which is nice so that you know they're not going to be rattling around in there. And then there's a little pouch at the top here with a whole bunch of other accessories, wires and whatnot, which we're going to take a look at in a second. But the first thing I want to take a look at is the transmitter and receiver. So at first glance, they look very similar. They're not huge, relatively small in size. One is actually smaller than the other. And from what I can see here, this is the microphone transmitter. You can see there's a little microphone built into the top of the unit here. And this seems to be the receiver. Now let's turn it on. There's a little button on the side to turn on the unit. And there's a little up and down toggle switch for the volume, I believe. Once you turn it on, there's a light, LED light that lights up and flashes in the upper corner. And if I turn this one on as well, this one has a little screen on it and also has the little indicators. So once they're connected, they stop flashing to indicate that the two are connected. This has a little screen on it, and I'm actually very impressed that they managed to fit a little screen on such a small unit. Even with my weak eyes, I can see that there's battery level indicators for both the transmitter and receiver. There is a level indicator, so if I speak into the microphone here, and if you can maybe see that, it's very small, you can see the level indicator go up and down, and it does show when you're clipping. And it also has a little 5-level indicator to indicate how well the connection is being received, similar to what you have on your cell phone. So that's a nice option to have there so that you're always clear on whether or not you're getting a good signal. Other than that, you have the DC 5-volt input to charge the units. These are being charged by USB-C connectors, and there's one on each one. The units seem very nicely made. There's no rattle. There's a nice quality plastic, and they both have a clip in the back of them with little teeth I don't know if you can see, there's little grippy teeth in there which allow you to clip them wherever you might need them. And they also have a variety of inputs here. The transmitter and receiver don't have the same outputs. So the transmitter has the microphone that's built into it, as well as an input here for your external lavalier mic. And the receiver has an output that would go to your camera and a headphone jack if you want to actually listen to the signal with headphones. I think that could be very handy to make sure that you're getting a good signal before you're actually starting to record, just to make sure the signal's not too hot. Now, before we listen to these things and compare them to the wired system, let's see what else you get in the box. So let's start off with this little bag. This seems to have something in it, and we can open it up here. It's taped up. Okay, so I believe just by looking at the silhouette of what's in the bag, this would be the external lavalier microphone. So you can actually use the units without one of these going right into the microphone built into the unit, or you can have these lavalier microphones to extend the unit and maybe hide it a little bit better. They also come with a little foam topper here that you can put on the lavalier mic. There's a little, what is called in the industry a dead cat, which basically is a windscreen. This one is more like a dead hamster because it's smaller, but I can see that it has a little plastic clip on the inside, clips right onto the unit here, and allows you to avoid any kind of noise when it comes to wind noise if you're recording outside. Beyond that, we have a camera jack, which basically is a coily cable that will plug into the unit and your camera. We also have an additional one, which is made for a phone, but it doesn't have the adapters if you're using a modern iPhone. These are, I guess, more in line with what you would need for an Android phone these days, but you can probably get an adapter for it if you're using a modern iPhone. And then finally, we have the charger cable, which has a regular USB and two USB-C. So one cable will charge both the units, which is nice, so you don't have to have multiple cables. Okay, so now the moment of truth. We're gonna actually give this a little test, and we're gonna see how it performs with or compared to the wired system that I'm normally using. So what you've been hearing till now has been my wireless lapel microphone. We're gonna switch over to the wireless system and see how well that actually works. Now we're using the wireless system, and I'm using it with the onboard microphone that's on the unit here. I left it on level 4. It's not the max. I just wanted to make sure I wouldn't be clipping, just so you know what kind of level we're at. And I can see the level indicators moving, so that's always a good sign. Now let's see how well it produces recordings if we actually get a little bit further from the microphone. So I'm just gonna talk into the microphone at about the distance I would probably have it on my chest, and move it a little bit away from me as I speak, just so that you can hear how far I'm getting and what kind of pickup pattern it has, how much room noise is actually being picked up. This is actually a lot further than I would normally use it, so I normally would use it around here so you can hear what kind of noise you're picking up, and whether or not you hear any plosives or maybe distortion as I get closer to my mouth. Now this is very close. I would normally not use it at this distance, but I just wanted to show you how well it picks up the sound. So now that we've tested it with the actual onboard mic, let's plug in the lapel mic and see whether or not that works any better. I feel like using a lapel mic is better because you have the ability to hide the microphone a little bit more. So let's plug it in and see what it can do. Okay, so what you're hearing now is the recording directly from the lapel mic connected to the transmitter. You can see the wire here going to my chest. The lapel mic is very small, indiscreet. I like it, the fact that it has a little swivel on it so you can adjust it on your shirt or wherever you'd like to clip it. It's very indiscreet. I like the fact that it's small, but I'm gonna listen back to the recording of both the onboard microphone and the lapel microphone and give you my final opinion on the sound quality of this unit at the end of the video when I can actually hear it back with you. Now, one of the things that I like about this lapel microphone is that the wire seems to be long enough. I still have it coiled up, but if you want to actually put the transmitter in your pocket, you would be able to do that. I'm gonna unclip the lapel microphone here for a second and just stay quiet to give you an opportunity to hear any background noise. Now, the camera may be compensating when the sound is quiet and boosting up the gain because it might be on adjust. So if you hear the gain slowly coming up, that's because of the camera settings, not the microphone. But it gives you an opportunity to hear if there's any background hum or hiss. Now, I'm going to take the microphone and do the same test as I did earlier. I'm just going to talk into it, pull it further away from my mouth so you can hear the differences in terms of the sound frequencies here to see whether or not you're getting any distortion or plosives or any kind of other noises that are undesirable. Normally, I would use it just about there. So once again, I'm going to unplug the lapel microphone so that you can hear the onboard microphone side by side. So this is the lapel microphone. I'm going to unplug it and make you hear the onboard mic. Okay, so now the microphone that you're hearing is the onboard microphone on the little transmitter that I'm holding in my hands. I also wanted to see whether or not it would introduce some noise when I'm actually manipulating or handling the little microphone here, just to see how much noise it actually picks up in terms of handling noise. I'm going to stay quiet here for a second to make you hear whether or not the sound is picking up any undesirable hiss or hum. And now I'm going to just put it back where I would normally use it and continue talking for the rest of the video using this wireless system. So all in all, I think the systems that are wireless today are getting more and more affordable. You're getting decent bang for your buck. They're not all perfect, and I'm going to give you my review on this one in a second. But needless to say, if you're on a budget and you really want to go wireless, you have a lot of choice today. So you can actually find the units that perform the best. If there's anything that you don't like about the units, you can always opt for something more expensive. But in many cases, I feel like that's not really necessary because you can get most of the way there with an inexpensive unit. And if the sound is not perfect, you can always tweak it a little bit in post to make sure you're getting the proper frequencies, as long as it's not introducing undesirable noise, which is very difficult to get rid of. So I switch back to my trusty wired microphone to give you my final conclusion. I think if you're looking for a wireless system, there's a lot of choice out there today. The wireless systems do have some great advantages. They allow you to do things that a wired system cannot. These systems actually charge in about 1.5 hours and have a 5-hour battery life, so you have a lot of battery time at your disposal if you're out in the field. And you know how difficult it is to use a wired system if you're on location somewhere. It's sometimes just not feasible. Now, in a studio situation like this, a wired system works just fine if you're careful, but there's definitely more flexibility with a wireless system. I like the fact that they managed to squeeze in an LCD screen on this very small unit, so you do have some good visual representation of what's going on. The downside is that I felt that the onboard microphone on the KIMAFUN system was definitely better than the lapel microphone that they supplied with it. If they would upgrade the lapel microphone and make it so that it's just as good or better than the onboard microphone, that would definitely be a huge upgrade. So the question always remains whether or not you want to go wireless or stick with your wired system. In a studio situation like I have here, a wired system works just fine, is definitely less expensive, just as reliable. You don't have the extended battery life that you do with a wired system like this. You usually have to swap out the little pill-sized batteries, but they tend to last relatively long. On the other hand, the wireless system is more flexible and just allows you to move around more freely and do what you need to do without necessarily having to be careful of tripping over wires or damaging anything like that. So I leave the final results up to you. You've heard both side by side. You've heard the wireless with the lapel microphone, the onboard microphone, and the wired system that I have on my chest right now. You guys tell me which one you think sounded the best and whether or not you'd be enticed to go wireless with the KIMAFUN system. So I hope you enjoy this really quick review on the KIMAFUN wireless system. Let me know your thoughts below. If you enjoyed today's video and you like this kind of really quick testing that we're doing, let me know so I can do more for you. Please subscribe to Addicted to Gear or you'll be missing out on other really cool gear videos just like this. See you soon. We'll be back with more.